You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprince.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped!
Yes!
And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Welcome back to the People's Pitch Podcast, your weekly fix of Minneapolis City SC action. And, of course, we'll give you... This is hilarious, John. I am Nate here with John Bisworm. John is, of course, the guy who can spot a tactical tweak faster than you can grab something from Tacos El Cavin at the Nelly. John, after that big win over the Dutch Lions, are you feeling like we're cruising, or more like we're gonna have to be strapped in for a wild ride for the rest of the season?
Definitely strapped in, Nate. That game that we're going to talk about in a second had everything. Early goals, red card, some fireworks in the second half. And we also have the Sueño FC. I hope I got that right. And the Minnesota Super Cup action that we're going to talk about coming up this weekend. And it's only going to get more intense. So let's dive in, Nate.
Yeah.
So getting right into it, Friday night at Edor Nelson Field was one of those games that reminds you of why we love this club, Nate. Not only were the stands packed after we thought it was super light and we're like, great, not another good gate, but traffic
after the truck full of ammunition crashed in the tunnel.
Yeah, so that didn't help. But the Crows delivered their most dominating performance of the season after 45 minutes of sluggish soccer, dismantling the Chicago Dutch Lions 4-0 in front of what ended up being quite the buzzing home crowd. So going for the Crows in net, Daniel Sessler, a back line of Nick Kent, Jared Heck, and Cole Schrage, central defensive midfielder Joey Tawa with Ian Shaw and Jackson Kirsch alongside him in the center. And then out wide, you had Morgan Olsen on the right. On the left, you had Andrew Heckenleibel. And up top, you had the season debut of Joe Highfield. And then the man that we has the best name on the team, Preston Kipnusu, but also is playing some serious soccer. And as far as the bench players go, you had Jack Roach, Jonah Garcia, Curtis Wagner, Jake Swellen, Mitch Munzing, Ondieki Mena, Bernardo Ciberul, Shea Bechtel, and Misael Harris.
Yeah. And John, the Crows wasted no time getting on the board. After just 4 minutes, Joey Tawa swung in a corner, and it's almost the exact same corner that he had from the same corner, almost the exact same cross he delivered a week before against RKC, as the caddies were advising him. But and again, he finds the head of Preston Kipnusu, and this guy is huge. I didn't know this, John. He's 6'4". You and I talk about this every once in a while, like, wow, how great is it to have a couple of tall guys on the, at the forward position between Preston and Joe Highfield. So at 6'4", this dude rises above everyone, heads it home. Kipnusu's second goal of the season, Tawa's second assist in 3 games, is a perfect start for City against this Dutch Lions team that we knew would be giving up goals today. So, like, 4 minutes in, we're already up 1-0. We're like, cruise control, this is going to be great.
It was the first time we've scored that early in a game in quite some time. But after that, the Dutch Lions dropped pretty deep into a block and made things kind of a touch frustrating for the Crows, with really only the ability to create half chances. I think what we saw was a lot of like very overly cautious, patient side to side and backwards passing. And then Joe Highfield forced a good save off of a free kick, and Knipsu had a shot that was just wide. But that it took 36 minutes, Nate, for that kind of action to start to happen. But overall, the Crows just couldn't find that second gear in the first half.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you heard from Coach Oliver how frustrated he was about that. And he, said, we played 45 minutes of great soccer. We played 45 minutes of not good soccer. And unfortunately, the 45 minutes of great soccer he was referencing was the one we played up a man, at least up a man, because right before halftime, once again, as he's been doing all season, Kipnusu gets a through ball, barrels past the defender. He shields the ball really well, and gets pulled down by who ended up to be the Dutch Lions' last defender. The ref shows a straight red to Dominic Scandariato, and that left Chicago down to 10 men for the entire second half.
And if you're watching the stream, Dan Hudeman had a fantastic time with Mr. Scandariato every time he had to say his name. He did kind of like the Italian hand gesture.
Yeah. I was just watching Inglourious Bastards the other night, and it reminded me of that.
Yeah. Well, at that
Dominic Rococo.
Yeah, this time it was Dominic Scandariato. And at that point, Nate, with the red card, it kind of changed everything for the Crows. Coach Oliver brought in some fresh legs in the second half, and he even said in his post game interview that he was basically forcing Jackson Kirsch to play higher and stay up the field. And then I think that with that tactical change and the substitutions that came on, being Shea Bechtel, being the debut of Jake Swallen, I think that really changed things.
Yeah, I've been really excited to see Jake Swallen in action. And it was exciting as well to see Morgan Olsen back in action for the Crows. And it was Morgan Olsen in the 55th minute, cuts the ball back to Kirsch inside the box. Kirsch takes it first time. And even though, Chicago's keeper got a touch on it, it just wasn't enough. And it was 2-0 City. And you knew we were rolling then for the second half. Mm-hmm. Just 10 minutes later, there was a deflected cross. I thought it was a shot, but maybe you can call it a cross from Kipnusu that fell kindly for Kirsch, who reacted quickest, and he kind of lobs. Oh no, this one was the cross. So your script is right, John. Excellent work with the prep. But yeah, so the ball falls kindly for Kirsch, who reacts really, really well, and he ends up lobbing the stranded keeper, kind of chips him from just inside the box for his second of the night. And John, that's 5 goals already this season for Jackson Kirsch, which in 3 games ties the club's League 2 single season record. This guy's pretty good.
Well, yeah, he's definitely good. With the game kind of all but sealed at that point, I thought the good reaction for City was they kind of kept the pedal down. Shea Bechtel, like we mentioned, coming off the bench, kind of capped off the night with his first goal of the season, finishing off kind of a flowing move and putting an exclamation point on this one in what was a dominant second half. And like you mentioned, Coach Oliver said, we played really, really good for 45 minutes and really, really bad for 45 minutes. Luckily, it was the second frame that we played really, really good in. We're able to knot 3 more goals and keep the clean sheet.
Yeah, and John, what we failed to mention too is that there was a second red card for the Dutch Lions in the second half. So really, by the end of the game, we were up 2 men, right? So I think to Coach Oliver's point, right, like that's great way to keep the foot on the pedal, but we should have done that coming straight out of the gates, for the first 45. And hopefully that lesson is learned well. Final whistle 4-0 City. It's a clean sheet. It's 3 points. You can show the team's potential, but as I'm mentioning, it also shows where they can still improve. So, John, the Crows are unbeaten in 3, and it feels like they're building real momentum, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing is that if you look back at previous scripts in the USL2, like we don't win point, and I say win points, not earn points. We don't win points off of teams in the past, but now we're seeing like even when the early season is kind of just getting going, we're starting to see us collecting some points off of teams that probably would have scored that late goal and beaten us.
Yep. I hear you. So, all right, next up, Sueño FC. This is coming up on Friday night, and this is a club out of Joliet, Illinois. It's all about developing local talent, making a real impact in their community. That sounds familiar. But They've got the backing of some money Pearson Sports Group, and you and I had talked about that a couple episodes ago when we were taking a look at the schedule before the season started. This Sueño FC team, it's young, they're ambitious. I think MVB said it in our text chain that on paper this might be the best team in the Heartland division. They have a starting 11 made up entirely of Big Ten players.
Yep, young Big Ten players, and we've gone into a season ourselves with young, we'll call it on paper qualified players, and we've kind of seen that can be a little bit inconsistent. But what you can tell by what Sueño's put together this year is it kind of is a story of who shows up for which game for them and who's available. And when the right 11 is available, they are very, very dangerous. Their 2025 season so far, they've been competitive in the Heartland division, even if the results haven't always gone their way. A quick look at their recent matches. They fell 2-1 to Rochester FC early in May. And there's a few days later, they bounced back with a 2-1 win over St. Croix down in Stillwater. And most recently, on the 31st of May, so their last game, they played a tight 2-2 draw against RKC. And that was at home. So again, you're looking at this and you're thinking like, okay, so they dropped 2 on the road and they picked up one at home. So maybe it is a case of, or they picked up some points against RKC at home. And we know RKC is a strong team.
Yeah. And I think that's the one that kind of raised our eyebrows, right? It's like, oh, wait, who's this team? Because we expected Sueño to do not great this year. But right now they're sitting mid-table in the Heartland division, showing a lot of resilience after dropping games to, Rochester, who knows? Yeah. Who knows what they're really like, and St. Croix too. So they can grind out some results as they've shown against RKC. So that mix of, wins, the win, the draw, and the close loss. They could be a tough opponent. They're not going to give anything away easily. They're going to fight hard, and like you mentioned, they're going to be at home, so they'll probably be at full strength.
Yep, absolutely. So you have to be asking yourselves, what does it mean for Minneapolis City? I think number one, you can't afford to be complacent or sloppy. Sueño, what they've shown is they punish mistakes. We have shown that we kind of make a few of those in the first half, or we're a little bit extra cautious or careful with the ball. And when you do that, you can be pounced on. And I also expect them to be organized, and since they're young, they play with a lot of energy and look to frustrate us, especially early. And I think that if we can control that midfield and stay patient, but also attack appropriately, break some of those lines with our passes, or at least attempt to break those lines instead of going backwards and side to side, I think the chances will come. And looking at the sheet that's going to be traveling for this, it looks as if Jake Swallen is going to start at that defensive center midfield spot. And when he came on against the Dutch Lions, with all due respect to Joey Sawat, totally different player, brought something totally different to the game. Every touch was in a positive direction. He was looking to find feed of the forward. Jackson Kirsch pressing a little bit higher up. So I think that, the right mix of players is also traveling.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's key what you just said, John, is if Swallen's in there, every touch is positive, right? He's looking to move the ball up the field. And I think what we saw out of Joey Tawa in that first half, when it was clear we had a pretty low, we had 11 men behind the ball in front of us. That there's no need to pass it back. We got to move the ball up the field. We got to find those points of attack, and Swallen was able to do that in the second half. So I'm excited about this one. For City, it's going to be about taking care of business on the road with a strong traveling squad. We got to control that tempo. We can't let any home energy that Sueño will bring throw us off the game. I think 3 points here would go a long way as we head into a busy stretch of the schedule.
Could potentially see us make a bid for first place if we do that. I think the winner of this one potentially does move into first place. So that's very, very important for us. I'll be traveling with the team. Gonna wake up early, hop on the bus. Should be real fun.
Wow. Well, let's kick things off then up with the game that's going to be next. So, City's going to have 2 games in 2 days, and not an issue because the second game is the Minnesota Super Cup, John. So first, we're going to kick things off with what that Super Cup is all about. Of course, if you're unfamiliar, this is the tournament that brings together the top men's amateur and pre-professional clubs from all across Minnesota. That means USL League 2, NPSL, UPSL, and even top amateur sides. And really what is a true statewide knockout battle. Oh, I forgot to mention MLS Next. And it's all about bragging rights, earning some silverware, and of course the chance to prove that you are the best in Minnesota, regardless of the league that you're in.
And for the Crows, there's kind of some unfinished business, I think, if you look at like the history between these clubs. Last year, Minneapolis City made it all the way to the Super Cup final, only to fall 3-0 to St. Croix Legends at McAllister Stadium, and really what was a tough loss, especially after a strong tournament run that included wins over Rochester and a dominant 5-1 win over this MLS Next side. But that out of that group stage was kind of tough for the Crows because everyone went back to college. So very shorthanded, very quick turnaround. And despite controlling much of the match in that final, City couldn't find the finishing touch against St. Croix and capitalize on a couple really key moments, especially set piece moments that could have seen them take the trophy home. But next up, MLS Next, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think City is hoping to take that next step and bring the trophy home, John. And this marquee matchup is against, I think, the Minnesota United squad. And I think really when you look at it, you and I had some conversations a couple weeks ago about the squad that will be participating in the Minnesota Super Cup, and how we faced off against Duluth and lost 2-0 in a game that could have been worse than that. Like, hopefully this is the game that sees that MC2 team bounce back. But there is some history, right, between these two sides, Minnesota United, MLS Next, and Minneapolis City. Is there not?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was like,
That's okay.
Yeah, in 2023, Minneapolis City dropped a tight 1-0 match to Minnesota United's academy team. But in 2024, the Crows answered back in a big way at Edor Nelson Field with a 5-1 victory. So the all-time record between City and Minnesota United's MLS Next stands at 1-1, with City holding a +4 goal differential. And this rubber match, I think, it has something a little bit extra special in it.
Yeah.
Some extra spice. The games between the two teams, very high tempo, very physical, full of quality. The United kids will want to move the ball, show their technical skills. Very much so is what you might expect from a MLS academy. While City's experience, size, grit, I think, does tip the scales a little bit. But with the Super Cup on the line, every player is going to kind of try to leave it all out there because there is a trophy at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's interesting because this MLS Next team is the youngest squad, like statistically, of course, average age, all that stuff, the youngest squad in the tournament. But they showed us last year that they show up to compete, they want to win games, but they're probably fine with accepting this tournament in general as a learning experience for their young guys. But I think when they think about the teams that are participating in this tournament this year, especially given that Minneapolis City is putting their MC2 squad in, like, they could feel like they could win this. So if you're a Minnesota soccer fan, this is the match to watch this weekend. You got two ambitious Minnesota clubs, a trophy at stake, or at least down the road a trophy will be at stake, and a bit of history to settle for Minnesota United. So let's see if the Crows can take that final step, bring home some silverware this year, and start strong against Minnesota United MLS Next. Of course, you can find tickets on the website mplscitysc.org.
.org?
.gov.com.
Yeah, .net.
.net.
Just type in Minneapolis City or tell Siri. It'll get you right.
TV.
Yeah, it'll get you right where you need to go. Short show. Nate's off in some faraway land. And,
I'm far away in South Dakota. I'm in the shadow of Mount Rushmore.
Oh, did you stop by and say hi to Nigel's mom on your way?
No, man. She's at the other side of the state.
Got it. Well, short show does not mean lack of quality, Nate. That is all for this week's show. Big thanks to our sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. Don't forget to use the code CROWS10 for 10% off on your order. And remember, Minneapolis City is a 501c3 nonprofit, so your membership and support go directly back into building the club, and that strengthens our soccer community. Season memberships are still on sale. I think it's the best value for how much soccer is coming up. But you can also get single game tickets like Nate mentioned. They're available at mplscitysc.com. We love hearing from you. Send us your questions, feedback, or guest suggestions. You can connect with us on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcast. You can email us, mcscpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit the club up everywhere on socials at mplscitysc. I am John, and of course, that was Nate. We'll see you at the Nelly on Saturday for the Super Cup action, and we'll be back next week with all the recaps, previews, and stories that you need. Thanks for listening. As always, you got